If you are, let's double check, a CEO, GM, or managing director of a construction company here on the Sunshine Coast, you can use this if you're not, but I've made this specifically for people on the coast for a very specific reason. You've tried to implement lean or create structure, scrum, theory of constraint. You've tried to implement one of those things either within your business or within your project team, and it's failed. Or you've tried to work with someone that can implement it for you. Maybe you tried traction, tried bringing in an integrator, and it didn't work. You and them just didn't click. I'm going to tell you a story of a failed relationship between myself and a visionary. Why most of it was my fault. It comes back to that there, the C word, why it didn't actually work. I'm going to show you how to use that C word to create traction. Move from chaotic to well-oiled machine. Anyway, just for a minute, I'm going to hand you back to a previous Beanie. He's going to set the scene, and let's see if your project feels or looks a little bit like this. In construction, you either run your project or the project runs you. And a project, just like a business that runs you, is what Keith calls a hand cranker.
Most of us have a business where we're this. We're crankers.
And it generally runs and looks a lot like this.
Kind of a fire drill working with a bunch of people doing a bunch of stuff, and it's not necessarily the most productive thing that needs to happen.
At the other end of a spectrum is a project that runs like a well-oiled machine.
The whole idea of the machine is that I pour gasoline in and it runs.
As the project grows in size and scales, what you end up with is a whole lot of hand cranking going on.
And then I hear people talking about, I want to scale my business. And if you scale a crank business, you wind up with more crankers because there is no machine.
Many of the leaders on a project will brag about their ability to be able to wing it. Let's make it up and make it real is their mantra. But as the legendary coach Bill Walsh said, hearing someone described as being able to fly by the seat of their pants always suggests to me a leader who hasn't prepared properly and whose pants may pretty soon fall down. There's three things. Right, so if you haven't prepared properly, as Bill Walsh used to say, if you fly by the seat of your pants, it's more likely your pants are going to fall down at some point very soon. There's two other quotes that I want you to keep in mind as we go through this. Number one is from the Navy SEALs. Slow is smooth, smooth is fast. And specifically this one. This one, let this sink in. The constraint in every organisation is not the bottleneck and it's not the market. It's simply management's span of attention. And it'll become very clear how management's span of attention and the C word just there were the problem in this failed relationship that I was talking about, me and this here. All right, so I was running an ad some time back, quite a few years back now. And it was, if you're visionary looking for an integrator to create traction, message me, whatever it was. Anyway, run the ad and guy jumps on and it sounded perfect when he jumped on and he responded to it. He basically asked me how much I wanted, told him, he went, yeah, that's fine, happy to pay that. Come down and meet my team. And there was a few red flags that I should have picked up on. And as I say, these weren't evil people, they weren't bad, they were extremely dysfunctional. There was a lot of people, they were all busy, they were trying to do a good job, but they just didn't have any structure. As Keith Cunningham says, we heard from Keith just before, he was Rich Dad and Rich Dad Poor Dad. Opportunity without structure is chaos. Okay? They had plenty of opportunity. They were not shy on that. And this is one of the visionaries' main downfalls, is that limited their management span of attention. They can't stay on track for any great length of time. I should have flushed this out earlier. This may not have been a problem, and it might have been a successful relationship instead of one that failed straight out of the blocks. So if you want to build, if you want to move, right, so down this end, down here, what we're trying to look at doing today is move from what Keith spoke about. You're down this end of the spectrum, you're a hand cranker. To get up this end of the spectrum, we need to be a well-oiled machine. So we want to go from there to there. Bottom end of the spectrum down here, we've got complete and utter chaos. The top here, we have traction. Whether you use that book, like the book, don't like it, whatever it is, I like the word. All right, so we're looking to move from whether you're right down in this corner here, where you've got a chaotic hand cranker, which is what this place was, up into this corner here, which is a well-oiled machine that's getting traction. Right. So the first red flag is, one of the first things that you need to put in place, if one of the things has to be in place, if you want to move up into here, into a well-oiled machine that's got traction, it's got to start with the leaders. The leaders have to buy in. There were 2 red flags that happened early on in the piece. Well, I should have used the C word. I'll tell you what that is a little bit later on to sort this out, and I didn't. And again, another one of Keith Cunningham's quotes is the greatest failure as us as leaders is a lack of ability to say what needs to be said. We don't speak the truth enough. I didn't speak the truth. I was trying to onboard this client. I was trying to get this job. I really wanted it, and I played along with what they wanted. I didn't tell them the truth, and I wasn't straight enough with them straight up. 2 things happened when we went down to the day to catch up with their team. Someone said they had the whole team was over the week before, and one of the team members had gone home and got home late and had got a bit flustered, and she hadn't felt like she fitted in when she was there with the team members. She worked remotely away from this team. She didn't really feel like she fit in that day. Someone called him out in the meeting and said, you should have gone and spent more time with her. His reaction was, I'm the CEO. Why should I spend my time doing that? That should have been red flag number 1. Starts with the leaders. If a leader thinks that they are too busy, they've got other things to do, better spent on anything else in their business other than building a better team, building better people, the priorities are wrong. It should have been the first red flag. I should have called him up then. I should have used what Chris Voss calls, the FBI negotiator, what he calls a mirror. You don't have the time. You didn't have the time. You're the CEO. I should have made him keep speaking to that until he realised what an ass, and he was, he's been an ass, what an ass he was being when he said, I'm the CEO, I don't have time for that. That should have been red flag number 1. The second one was, because this was a husband-wife team, okay? When I spoke to Traction, I started telling them the sort of things that we're going to put in place, that people will start need to turn out to meetings, they will need to be reporting, all the things that a well-oiled machine should do. Her response was, my section of the business is fine. I don't need to be held accountable. You're not going to try and make me do this, are you? Starts with the leaders. There was no buy-in from either leaders. And I thought, me being me, thought I can get around this. I can create the buy-in from the ground up, which I do sometimes. But in this case, neither of them had any buy-in. They wanted this. Another great Navy SEALs quote is, everyone wants to go to heaven, nobody wants to die. They wanted to get to there, but they wanted to act like they were acting, which was keeping them down here in chaos and hand cranking. Right, so those should have been 2 red flags straight up that I should have picked up on. Then the other thing that you really need to do, and they don't actually do this in Traction, which is the way that they tried to get out of this, but every other system that I've seen that talks about how you scale and get to a well-oiled machine and get traction, they do a morning meeting. And this is actually built of Lead Made Simple. They're the first two steps. It's a proven 12-step process for creating a vibrant lean culture. If you haven't seen these guys, go and have a look at seating. Go to YouTube, put Seating Matters in, Ryan Tierney, have a look and see how their business operates. It's a well-oiled machine. It's probably way off the scale of well-oiled machine compared to all the rest of it. They're the first two steps that he talks about. Start with your leaders, get your leaders have to be on board, and you need to hold a good morning meeting. When I put a morning meeting in place, oh man. Anyway, first question was, do we have to do this daily? Salespeople started whinging about it. The morning meeting was at 9 o'clock in the morning, okay? And they were great people, extremely ill-disciplined. No discipline at all within this business. Salesperson said, I was up to 11 o'clock doing a sales call last night. Why do it's too early to turn up a meeting at 9 o'clock. My response should have been, I'll let that person off the hook with candor. Sorry, I've just told you what the C word is. I should have said, you're on a call till 11 o'clock last night. That means that you had well and truly had enough time to get 8 hours sleep and turn up to the meeting at 9 o'clock this morning. It was a bullshit excuse. They were all very busy, but there was no accountability. As soon as I started to speak to data, as in how many calls do you make, what's your conversion rate, how long, I tried to put metrics in place for the admin person to measure what they're doing, because they're all working remotely. As Tiziano said, without measurement, there could be no improvement. As soon as I tried to measure or get some visibility on what they were all doing, they scattered like a bunch of cats, gone. All right. Then, this is a piece de resistance, or however you say it. We went to run what's known as a level 10 meeting for them. Level 10 meeting, I don't know whether you've read the book Traction or not. It's a mandatory meeting every single week. Everyone must turn up to it. They've come along to the first level 10 meeting. Fucking chaos it was. Anyway, we agreed to some metrics and the way that we're going to set the meeting up and get it going. We were 5 to 10 minutes into this meeting, and both of these people, one up here, the one that said I'm the CEO, and the one that said my section's fine, I don't need to worry about this. So we're going to go, we're off to another, doing something else. Again, I should have called it out and said, if you're not going to sit through this meeting, then I'm going to shut it down. I actually sat there with the team for 5 minutes. I actually said to the team, do you think what they did is acceptable? What they just did is acceptable? And they all looked at me and stunned, because no one ever questioned this guy or these people, ever. And I said, that's it for me. I'm done. I'm out. And by this point, all this stuff had gone on, and I've gone, it's time to get out. All right. So that is the downside. If you're running a little bit like that yourself, don't be too hard on yourself, because, as I say, it is more common than you would know. If you want to fix it, and you're looking at that and you're going, well, that's us. We're doing that at the moment. Our project's running like that. Our construction company is running like that. That's a good sign, because all progress starts with the truth. All right. So how do we go from moving chaos and cranker up to here? Number one, starts with the leaders. The leaders must buy in to getting this to happen. Leaders put their hand up and they go, yeah, that's us. We're doing that at the moment, but we want to be up here. We're going to buy in. We're going to turn up and do this daily. This is one of the key lessons that I've learned to put in place now. Actually, I'll talk to the C word first. So I've got to manage this all by, and this is where I believe 90% of your problems come from, the C word, which is candor. Keith Cunningham quote before is, the greatest failure of leadership is a lack of courage to say what needs to be said. There was a lot of lack of courage on my part when I was trying to land this client. When this person said, I'm the CEO, I don't need to do that, I should have called that out. when this person said my section's fine, I don't need to be held accountable. I should have called that out. When they said, do we have to do this daily? My answer should have been yes. You need to turn up here daily. We need to know what you're doing. We need to get clarity on what you're doing so that everyone's heading in the same direction. We're not trying to micromanage people, but as it says in Patrick Lencioni's book, The 5 Dysfunctions of a Team, you get all the people in an organisation heading in the same direction. You can dominate any industry, any market, at any time. Yes, if you haven't got 15 minutes, if you can't create 15 minutes of your day to turn up and get aligned with everyone else, this is probably not the place for you to be. Candor. I should have called it out like that. When the people were saying we're busy and we don't got time for this, they literally sat on that level 10 meeting and said, well, others jumped off. When the first 2 jumped off, they go, we're going to go as well because we're busy too. Should have said, this is a lack of accountability. This needs to stop. Candor. That was my part. That was my fault. And it's probably the breakdown of most visionary integrator relationships. I like to think of it as entrepreneur. So entrepreneur is the business owner. Entrepreneur does the business-like stuff within the business, but they tend to work for the entrepreneur. Well, that's what I do. All right, so how do I manage this going forward? I have some key rules that I have now put in place. Number one is, and I did actually do this with them, but I didn't do it well enough, is I'll get under book a triage call. I've got 6 questions that I asked you that triage call, which flushes out where they're at, what's going on in the business, why they reached out to me, where they think that they need help. If you want to do one of those, that little QR code, see if I can get my hand over top of it. In the corner there, you can see it anyway. Message me via WhatsApp. That's a 15-minute call. We sit together and we go, all right, why are you down here? Why are you stuck in this hand cranker chaos section? And how committed are you to moving up to the top into the well-oiled machine and traction? Triage call first. The second one I would have done is, once I've done the triage call with them, I now do what I call an alignment session. I give them a couple of things. This is what your day's going to look like. This is what your week's going to look like. This is what your month's going to look like. If you're going to work with me, these are the metrics that we're going to measure, which are all behavioural driven. This is how we're going to report it, and this is what we're going to do. We're not get there straight away. It might take us some time to get from where we currently are, because we're sitting right down in this corner down here, to up to here. It's going to take us some time to get there. It's going to be uncomfortable. We're going to have to do some things that you don't currently do, because if you were doing the right things, you wouldn't be sitting here, you'd be up here. Candor. It's not about trying to drive people out of the business. It's about trying to lift the standards and create the right behaviours. That's the mistake that I made with that one, and I won't be making it again. All right, so the third question will be, and this comes back to this one just here, and the comment was in the biz before we went into this level 10 meeting. I'm jumping over the place a little bit here today, but that's all right. I think we'll get there in the end. Before we went to this level 10 meeting, we actually sat down with the traction book and created some metrics that we're going to measure, which were behaviour driven, that we're going to drive this accountability here. These 2 had a task that they were supposed to do to bring to the meeting. They didn't do it. Probably part of the reason why they turned up and left after 5-10 minutes. They didn't do what they agreed to. When I started with, these are what you called your rocks for the first 90 days. Okay. There should have been another red flag, just thinking of it. We had our rocks done for the first 90 days. It was based around getting this to happen. Start with the leadership, getting the leadership on board and aligned, and a morning meeting. Oh mate, here, I started reading these out, and he goes, no, we're not doing that. We need to move quicker than that. Again, candor, I should have called him out. I should have said to him, stop confusing busyness with traction, or action with traction, because you're all running around in circles. He came up with a new fantastic idea that he was going to race off and do. He wanted to forget everything that I've done, everything that I've tried to get him to the point to get ready to put the structure in place. That's why it keeps doing that. It's because I'm using my hands. When I use my hands, this is hand activated, this signal here, remote, and it moves. My camera's AI driven. So, yeah, he completely threw everything that we'd done out the window. What we'd agreed that we're going to do for the first 90 days. He knocked it on the head. Said, no, we're not doing that. We move faster than that. He wasn't moving fast. He was stuck down here. There was no way in hell was he moving fast. Slow and smooth. Smooth is fast. I'll go back to this here, which I didn't actually know this quote back then, and this is part of the process of me improving every day. If I went into that situation here, I could handle that so much better than what I did a couple of years ago. Way better, just because I do my reps every day and I put stuff in place to keep moving me further and further off the charts this way, and well-oiled machine and traction. I would have said to him, the constraint in every organisation is not the bottleneck, it's not the market, it's simply management span of attention. You haven't even been able to hold your attention for 3 days, which is where we went from. We talked about it on the Friday, we went to do it on the Monday in the level 10 meeting, and he was already off on another different track. Could have managed that a lot better as well. Right, let's do a recap. Want to move from a hand cranker to a well-oiled machine, go from chaos to traction. Starts with your leaders. You need to get your leadership team on board and aligned. Slow and smooth, smooth as fast. Need to get your morning meeting. That morning meeting happens every day. Not when you feel like it, not once a week, not twice a week, not once a month. Every single day we turn up, we do a 15-minute morning meeting. First 90 days, if you can't dedicate the first 90 days just to focusing on those two, slow as smooth, smooth as fast, you're never going to move from chaos and hand cranking to well-oiled machine and traction. Finish with that Dr. Eli Goldratt quote. The constraint in every organisation is not the bottleneck, it's not the market, it's simply management's span of attention. When you're ready to move, hand cranker and chaos, traction and well-oiled machine, reach out via WhatsApp, message me the words, what I'm going to go with for this one. Message me the words well-oiled machine life. Organise a time to do that triage call, quick 15-minute chat. All goes well, we think we might be a good fit together, work together. We'll look at doing this alignment session. Take it, use it, make it a great week, and we will speak soon. I'll flick you back to previous live meeting because he'll run you through the rest of that video that I started at the start. Speak soon. In construction, you either run your project or the project runs you. And a project, just like a business that runs you, is what Keith calls a hand cranker.
Most of us have a business where we're this. We're crankers.
And it generally runs and looks a lot like this.
Kind of a fire drill working with a bunch of people doing a bunch of stuff, and it's not necessarily the most productive thing that needs to happen.
At the other end of a spectrum is a project that runs like a well-oiled machine.
The whole idea of the machine is that I pour gasoline in and it runs.
As the project grows in size and scales, what you end up with is a whole lot of hand cranking going on.
And then I hear people talk about, I want to scale my business. And if you scale a crank business, you wind up with more crankers because there is no machine.
Many of the leaders on a project will brag about their ability to be able to wing it. Let's make it up and make it real is their mantra. But as the legendary coach Bill Walsh said, hearing someone described as being able to fly by the seat of their pants always suggests to me a leader who hasn't prepared properly and whose pants may pretty soon fall down. There's 3 things that transform a hand crank project into a well-oiled machine.
So the machine is 3 things. I got to have a process, I got to have a strategy and a plan. I got to have the people to execute, and I got to have some structure so that I pour in gas and this thing goes.
And structure is what the fly by the seat of their pants brigade detest the most, because they're usually the biggest hand crankers that you'll ever meet.
The Achilles tendon of most entrepreneurs is structure. They hate it. That's why they started their own business, is because they hate the idea of having structure, and yet structure is critical for scaling.
Just as a side note for the intent of this video, when Keith refers to an entrepreneur, the person on the project that fits that role is generally the project manager. On a project, leverage can take a lot of different forms, but there's one form of leverage that trumps all of the rest.
But the more powerful form of leverage is who's on your team.
Quoting the legendary Bill Walsh again, when you take care of the team, the score takes care of itself.
If you only had a team of A players, how many of your existing problems that you have right now would go away?
Creating structure on a construction project is a skill set that very few possess. Getting it up and running feels a lot like you're trying to run through a wall.
I know you're taking it in the teeth out there, but the first guy through the wall, he always gets bloody. Always.
While speeding up the project, you're literally working everyone out of a job.
This is threatening, not just a way of doing business, but in their minds it's threatening the game. But really what it's threatening is their livelihood. It's threatening their jobs. It's threatening the way that they do things.
So naturally, there's going to be a lot of pushback.
The people who are holding the reins, have their hands on the switch, they go bat crazy.
It's not a task for the ill-disciplined, pea-hearted, or those that give up easily. But when you've had enough of conforming to the status quo and running around like a blue fly, trying to keep a heap of hand crankers on track, shoot me through a message with the word cranker and we'll organise a time to catch up for a chat to see if we might be a good fit to work together.
I've described you in the intro as, well, I'll forget the exact words, but one word is just enigma. An absolute enigma. As we said, we've gone through this bloody, that's why I had to call you the other day. I'm like, pretty much called, like, can you please make sense of yourself? Because it didn't make sense to me. This Boilermaker construction supervisor to marketing manager to social media keynote speaker, and like, as I said in capital letters, like, what the please explain. Where do you want to start? It's all over the shop. You won't even start at the start. It'd be like a bloody Tarantino movie.
Yeah. Start at the end and we'll go back to the beginning.
Get into it, mate. Give us the spiel. Go back to, actually, I want to know, like, the thing that interests me the most is when you started the social media marketing stuff.
Yep.
Not recently.